Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Wrestleview Live number 108. I am Mike Tedesco.
And I'm Victoria Tedesco.
Oh, wow. Welcome to the show, everybody. There's a lot to talk about on this one here, including the long anticipated return of Bray Wyatt. It did happen.
We were here.
They didn't go out of their way to even try to hide that it was Bray Wyatt. It almost got to the point where people were really trying to work themselves into like, oh, it's absolutely not going to be Bray Wyatt. There's too many teases that it is Bray Wyatt. They're definitely not doing that.
Not this past week, but the week before, I think it was. It was either like the week before or about 2 weeks ago, because we didn't get to have a prediction show. But we were saying, like, mostly everyone was saying Bray Wyatt for sure, but there were some really good predictions out there on who it could have been initially. But then the closer it got, it was obvious. You know what I mean? Then it was like, okay, it's definitely Bray Wyatt.
It was. I gotta say, look, last time we did a show, we didn't do a show this week because I'm actually coming to you live from a brand new computer. My old computer, my Legion, my Lenovo Legion, just crapped out, dead, and I had to buy a new computer, and it just crapped out on Monday, and I was like, well, we can't do a show there. But I mean, look, I did say that I did think it was going to be Bray Wyatt.
You did.
I'm not going to sit here and say that I was totally excited about him coming back.
You were not.
And even now I'm still tempering my expectations here, because Bray Wyatt, it's not that he can't create big moments. It's just a question of, are the moments truly good? It's like they're like, he had like one of the, like, when he's on creatively and has control, you get something like SummerSlam 2019, where that was one of the all-time great debuts of a new character in wrestling history. You could really truly say that it was that well done, it was that well built. And then Vince got his hands on it and kind of and not kind
it
of
went off the rails.
He did wreck it. He absolutely wrecked it, overthought everything, hot shotted him into a title match with Seth Rollins and totally killed the gimmick. But that's not like Bray Wyatt was lighting the world on fire beforehand. He's able to get people, going with the catchphrases and all that stuff, but it's hit or miss on whether he's never really had any type of momentum in his career where it's like, okay, that was a great match and that was a great, this whole thing is awesome. It's always like you have to like sit and think like, well, I mean, it was interesting, but was it good?
Yeah.
Tonight was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
This was like he got another chance to do what he set out to do at SummerSlam, right? I don't know if it's the Fiend this time. He was definitely wearing a different mask. They did show the Fiend, but they were also showing life-size figures of like Sister Abigail and Huskus and the Ramblin' Rabbit and Mercy the Buzzard. And those were actually kind of spooky. Those were really, really spooky. And then they showed the Firefly Funhouse with cobwebs all over it because it hasn't been used in a while. And then I thought
that was a nice touch.
Yeah. And then I love the thing that they did with they had this doorway in the entrance, in the entranceway. And they did this thing like they did in Poltergeist when the kid's like watching TV and you like the camera's outside the door and it's got like the lights are so bright that they're shining through the cracks in the door and stuff like that. And then it kicks open and here comes Bray Wyatt in a new mask, and he takes the mask off and it looks like he's going to do like a play on like the Fiend and the original styling of Bray Wyatt. So I'm excited to see. I think the Fiend has a certain stink on it that you certainly can't. It might not be wise to even try to resurrect that. But I think Bray Wyatt's got a new trick up his sleeve. I think he's had a year and a half to really think about what he wants to do. And I think with Triple H at the helm, this is going to be a lot better. I still don't think that Bray Wyatt is a great wrestler, and I'm not entirely convinced that this is going to be like the most amazing thing of all time, but this debut was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. What say you?
I really, I said a couple weeks ago, like I said, it was either a couple weeks ago now at this point, but I have a more optimistic view overall just of the product itself. So I'm willing to give this a chance where with this new resurgence and just kind of see under new direction and with him having creative control, what is I think it was intended to be. I think we're going to get at this point, I think we're going to get what initially, maybe not still like the Fiend in full effect of what it was and everything, but I think we're going to get what it was supposed to be and the potential that it did have. Because it was great in the beginning. It was interesting, it was engaging, it had all these different elements to it that seemed like it could be something really, really good. But with Vince kind of getting a handle on it, it didn't turn out to be what it was supposed to. I don't think that they were going in that direction of this whole like magical feel and everything else. I liked the idea of him having these like friends and these, side people and like puppets and whatever. Like that was cool. I love that twisted Mr. Rogers type deal. Um and I think if it was just like kind of that, where it's just that he was like trying to tap into like this alter ego of his in order to, gain momentum for himself and gave motivation for him to win matches and stuff. But then obviously when you brought the magical piece into it, it changed. It changed the whole thing. So, but with this new direction and this new administration, I think that it could be something. At least it could be like maybe we'll
Yeah.
finally get this chance where Bray Wyatt can be Bray Wyatt on a consistent basis.
Right.
We haven't really had we've had a Bray Wyatt that's like woo 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 woo, like it's been back.
Well,
it's
it's
been
like
so
it's like
back
everybody
and
else
forth.
that they ever book. It's like, it's hot and cold. He gets pushed big and then they go back on him.
Exactly.
The Fiend is not a character that really fits in professional wrestling, but I'm curious to see what this version is going to be and how they're going to do it. So look, that's the big news from tonight. There were 6 matches on this show on Extreme Rules tonight. Some really good, some really, really bad. Actually, I thought the show up until the Bray Wyatt return was kind of, it probably could be considered a disappointment. I'm sure the Bray Wyatt thing is going to save it for a lot of people. It kind of did for me too. Because that's how well done the debut was.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I think with the debut in itself, like they really took the time. Even though towards the end you really thought to yourself that it could, like we said a few weeks ago, people had their thoughts. Obviously, closer to it, everyone's like, "Oh, it's Bray Wyatt," but they still did it it was a very clever approach. It was really, really good. Love the whole QR code thing. I mean, that's like, listen, you got to stop your TV, you got to put it on, you got to see what's going on, right? And anything on a show like this, especially with Extreme Rules, you have to do something big like this. And I think this was a great actually opportunity for him to come back on, because being that it may, even though it's Triple H running things now, and even though Triple H clearly is putting a lot more effort into the fall season than Vince would have, because he just kind of gave up with football, Triple H is doing a lot more in this time period than Vince would have. So I think something like this, it kept you on your toes. It kept you wanting to watch because everybody was anticipating it, and it's like it's definitely going to happen tonight. He's definitely going to be coming out, and it did, And I think you're right. I think it did save a lot of people from,
Well,
it saved a lot of people from maybe like totally.
Yeah.
Because there were great matches on the show. There really was. But I think for people making this like,
yeah, there was two matches I would consider great.
Mm-hmm.
There were 2 matches I would consider a disaster, and there was 1 match that I consider really, really good.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about all those, but yeah, it was it was a well done show. There's an argument to be made, because they held off on the Bray Wyatt thing until the very last thing on the show. That like everybody's expecting, oh, maybe he's going to come during the Edge and Finn Balor I Quit match, or he's going to debut in the Fight Pit. A lot of people were saying that. But he actually wound up coming after the Fight Pit. And once he didn't come in for Edge and Finn Balor, look, the Fight Pit, they worked hard in it. And there was that one huge moment with the Broton off the Fight Pit onto Rollins, which was really, really awesome. But the finish was totally flat. I think people were just sitting around waiting for Bray Wyatt, and it kind of hurt the main event. So there's an argument to be made that maybe they should have debuted Bray Wyatt earlier in the show. And, but then again, would that take away the rest of from the rest of the show? I don't know. I don't think it would have.
I don't think it would have either, but I do see, though, the end of the show being the bigger payoff at the end of the day. I don't know. Obviously, it would have been great. I think it would have been great regardless for people. I think it would have been great earlier in the show. I think it would have been fine end of the show. But I find that the end of the show didn't take away from anything. And it didn't, even though you were anticipating it, still, I think it was just a good way to end the show. I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, interesting about this show is that, analytically, looking at it on Twitter and looking at site numbers, there wasn't a ton of buzz about this show. And I think some people actually forgot that there was a show today.
I think so too. I think we are in that frame of mind still. It's the fall time. So I think some people just really do take a little bit of a hiatus a little bit. They're not necessarily going to watch the show live. You know what I mean? They might they'll catch up on.
I mean, it definitely had more buzz than the average B show.
Oh, for sure.
But I actually thought that the Bray Wyatt thing, I actually thought I have to say it was, in hindsight, and you see how it all went, it was kind of genius to do what they did. It started off as a viral thing, where during a house show, the lights went out and they played the White Rabbit song, You Feed Your Head song, whatever it is. And then they did it during SmackDown, and it just started spreading, and everybody's like, well, what is this? Was that a thing that they did, or
right.
What the heck is going on here? And then they started doing the QR codes and the little teases in the background and stuff like that. I thought that was really smart. But maybe it'll translate into bigger numbers than they would have done for a regular Extreme Rules, because look, this show had almost nothing of real consequence happen on it. A terrible women's championship reign has come to an end with Liv Morgan losing to Ronda Rousey.
Oh my God.
I think the only other title that was defended was the Raw Women's Championship, which was actually a good match. But there's no Roman Reigns on the show. There's no Bloodline on the show at all. This was the definition of a B show pay-per-view. So maybe they did a little better because of the viral, the viral presentation of the White Rabbit thing.
I also think, just in general, just saying me personally, I still think people will tune in because based off of certain things that happen, people will want to see the Bray Wyatt return. People will want to see the good matches that were on the show. It's a Saturday night in the fall. I do feel like people are doing stuff, so at the end of the day, even with the trajectory of the way WWE is going, and even though it's going at a great pace and a great momentum, I still feel like people are, they have plans.
Look, it's a Saturday night.
It's a Saturday night.
Give up a Saturday night.
Yeah.
It's tough. And like Andrew Elder says, college football is on. Well, look, it was well done. I think it probably got more eyeballs on the show than the show probably deserved. But we're now going to talk about the actual show. But first, we want to say hello to some of the people in our chat room tonight. They all came out for us. Nafis Sadat is here. Andrew Elder, Ed Hamilton, Jamel is here. Randy Torcola. We got Daniel Shell. I saw we had Goosey in here before. Mr. Oberstar. Yeah, there he is right over there. We have Mashun Walls. We got Chris LG. Rest in peace, my old computer. Yes, indeed. I still have to figure out what the hell happened with that thing. It was strange. Jerome Weiland's in the room. Ed Hamilton. All right. If I missed you, just say hello. The Wrestleview White Rabbit, Andrew Elder, we should say. We should say that. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yes. It's so true.
Because he was the Fiend. Now he's going to have to get some bunny ears.
And hello, everybody.
Yes, and hello. Thanks for all being here. All right, so let's talk about the show real quick. This was what happened on it. So the opening contest was this good old-fashioned Donnybrook match with the Brawling Brutes going over Imperium. Oh, man, this was so much fun. Second match was Rowdy Ronda Rousey defeating Liv Morgan via referee's decision in an Extreme Rules match.
This was not fun.
To win the SmackDown Women's Championship. Third match was Karrion Kross defeating Drew McIntyre in a strap match. Then we had Bianca Belair defeating Bayley in a ladder match to retain the Raw Women's Championship. Finn Balor beat Edge in an I Quit match after Beth Phoenix was threatened and Edge quit to save his wife. And then, of course, we had Matt Riddle beating Seth Rollins in the main event of the evening by submission in the fight pit. But the real main event was actually Bray Wyatt. Okay, let's chat about this show. Let's just go from the first match and go on from there. This good old fashioned Donnybrook. Last night, I've been really lucky as Mr. Roy Nemmer is taking a month off and he's on vacation right now. I've been lucky enough to be able to cover SmackDown as well. And I am really enjoying, I've been really enjoying recapping SmackDown. Last night was their season premiere.
I've been too.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
No, it's good. And it's so easy with 2 hours. I'm sorry. I know I keep repeating myself, but it is.
Ed Hamilton wants to know if I would quit to save you.
Oh, Ed, that's a very good question. I think it depends on the day. I think for the most part, maybe,
most days I would quit to save her. Absolutely.
Some days you'd be like, nah.
Some days the concerto is in order, I think. I've been, last night was the season premiere, and probably I there have been really some excellent wrestling matches in WWE this year. Like this is probably one of the best best times of wrestling, for the main roster in quite some time. Thinking about matches like, getting to recap Stone Cold's final match, even Vince McMahon's final match in a weird way. He had a match. It was a terrible match, but he had a match.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, at WrestleMania. And then, of course, one of the best matches I've ever recapped ever in the Hell in a Cell. But I still think one of the best match that I recapped this year was Sheamus versus Gunther at Clash at the Castle.
Yeah.
So last night they had their rematch on SmackDown, and Gunther beat him again with some interference. But again, really excellent match. And I just love everything about anything involving Sheamus and Gunther. And now you add in the rest of them, the rest of Imperium and the rest of the Brawling Brutes in a Donnybrook match, 24 hours, like less than 24 hours after they had this war in Worcester. This was probably the match of the night, and it was the first match of the show.
Listen, can I just say, I don't know if if I didn't know the rest of the card, like if I didn't know the order of the way the matches were going to go, I would say, I'm not saying this, and please don't attack me on this one. I'm not saying this in terms of storyline purposes, but I would this to me is a main event. Like this was what I mean?
It should be.
It should be.
It's hard for things to follow it.
It was really hard. It was really, really hard. This was my favorite match of the night. It was just so aggressive. And I love that. I like how they're consistently bringing that aggression too, but it's not getting boring either. Like they're,
right.
Even though you're getting hard hitting match after hard hitting match, like we did with, like you said, with Sheamus.
Look, everybody beat the crap out of each other tonight.
I love it. It was just like old. It was like old fashioned, traditional, like.
But this match was just like on a different level. It actually felt. I mean, like they treated it like a barroom brawl, and it really was. Like, we were seeing power bombs on the floor, power bombs onto like marble bar tops, just vicious chops to the chest. It's like, I don't even know how Sheamus like handles that, because
he's so good at handling that though.
But I mean, like his chest was destroyed.
Destroyed.
In less than 24 hours. Again, he's getting annihilated. His chest is getting annihilated.
He's a beast. He really
And
is.
so is Gunther. You know,
they're all beastly though. They all
Yeah.
they all in some way tonight they showed like
Yeah.
this like weird side to them.
Rich
of
Holland is also
pain.
like a big dude, but like Butch is, you know, small, but he's got like so much fire and
Yeah.
it's all. I mean, I still want to call him Pete Dunne. I still wish I could call him Pete Dunne, but he's Butch and he really brings, you know, a lot to the table on that. But you know, it's like Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci. Like you look at them, you don't expect much from them. You look at them as like, oh, they're just wrestlers. But then they were phenomenal throughout this whole entire brawl. Like it's just a great unit, Imperium and the Brawling Brutes. It's like these two stables were made for each other. Like this, they are the perfect yin and yang. That's what makes this work. You know.
Oh yeah, that's a good way of describing it too.
None of them are afraid to get, you know, bruised up and battered, but they also all 6 guys, maybe 5. I don't think Ridge Holland, but like are great wrestlers.
I agree with you.
And great brawlers, and they can put together one hell of a match at any time that they're out there. So I still think that we're gonna get the trilogy with Sheamus and Gunther. I'm hoping for one more big match between them.
Yeah, me too.
But this was an awesome freaking way to kind of add a buffer in between, like, you know, that next big singles match.
Yeah.
It was just so much fun, and I loved like everything about it with, you know, with the Shillelaghs being involved. You know, Sheamus kicking out of the finish from last night's match. I like that they had a picture of Sheamus's grandfather on the bar.
Yes.
That was really just Sheamus.
Yes.
You know, just everything was great. It was so much fun. Corey wants to know what I think about the announced team shakeups. It's too early to tell yet. Corey Graves and Michael Cole have been doing commentary for a little bit now. I thought they were fine. They called the pay-per-view just fine. Michael Cole actually, you know, he has the handcuffs off now. He's released from the terror of Vince in his ear, but he had a little bit of a rough night on commentary. There's a lot of moves that he called that were incorrect. In particular, the one that really stands out to me was the Broton off the fight pit that he called the floating bro, and then he realized that he was wrong and corrected it, and then tried to say it was a floating Broton, which it's either one or the other, bro. But there were a couple moves that he miscalled that were misnamed tonight, but he's great. Last night with him and Wade Barrett, it was fine. You know, Barrett's it's going to take a little time for Barrett to get, you know, his momentum on the show, but once he does, Pat McAfee will be ready to return, I'm sure. So I am a little skeptical of Monday Night Raw though. 3 hours of, well, the one thing I'm really happy about, and I think you can attest to this, is that Byron Saxton is not on commentary anymore.
I just think that having a third person in general is just kind of
superfluous. You don't really
need it. You don't really need it. I mean, it will, especially somebody like Byron Saxton. I hate to say it, and I hate being mean like that, but it's true. Like if you're gonna have 3 people,
really was bad.
If you're going to have 3 people, it should be 3 people worthwhile listening to, especially for 3 hours. I do agree with you. Monday is a little bit like,
you know, it's it's 2 guys. You know, maybe we'll be saying on Monday that you actually need that third, but I'm not convinced that Kevin Patrick is the guy. I was actually, I guess I was in the minority. I liked Jimmy Smith. You know, Jimmy Smith was there for a year and a half. He's a guy that was never a wrestling commentator. He was an MMA guy, and he fell into the role. I thought he did a really, really good job. He did a good job, like kind of like, you know, bringing like a serious, steady hand to the play-by-play. And I thought that he did a good job, you know, with what he was doing. I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't over the top. You know, it was more of like a serious approach to it. I don't know, like what do they like? You know, they hated, you know, Jim Ross for the screaming and the accent and everything, but you know, like what do they want? Like that's really like my question. I'm like Jimmy Smith was kind of like what they were looking for. And now they got rid of him. I just don't understand that. And I'm not sure that Kevin Patrick is going to be able to hang with Corey Graves, and I don't want to hear for 3 hours Corey Graves, trying to be funny and trying to get Kevin Patrick tripping over his words the entire time, like he would do with Renee Young. I hated that.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be the two of them. I'm not excited about that.
No, I almost.
Well, God, I mean, Kevin Patrick is absolutely going to be better than Adnan Virk. My God, that was a horrible 6 weeks.
Oh, that was.
Remember
torture.
how bad that was?
That was torture.
You know what was amazing about Adnan Virk is that he showed up out of nowhere, never commentated on wrestling. The most he knew about wrestling was that he liked Bret the Hitman Hart, who had retired, 20 years ago. That's all he knew about wrestling, and he had no interest in learning it, and no one had any interest in even helping the guy. He didn't meet the first week that he was on commentary. He didn't even meet Vince McMahon.
Well, I think
how is that possible?
I think they were setting also too to add to what you're talking about. They were setting him up for failure. Like,
well,
even
yes, they did not plan for success on that.
No, so like you could be a fan all you want, but there's a certain way that you do have to, when you're commentating. Like I'm a fan now, like obviously, but I don't really personally know if I could ever really commentate. I really don't. I don't think I would be comfortable with it. I think I could give my opinion on stuff, obviously, as the show is going on, but they're not looking for that too. They're looking for a certain dynamic and calling moves and really watching what's going on and bringing back the history into there. Like, I think you would be good at it because you can bring back that history and you can bring you do know all the moves.
It's another thing,
but
to it's tell a story and like because they have to like explain the story that's happening in the ring and how it connects to like the actual storyline itself. Adnan Virk just like he didn't know anything. He just didn't know anything. But Jimmy Smith came in not knowing anything either, and he turned himself into an excellent commentator, and he could draw back on that history like you were talking about. He certainly had a deeper knowledge of like some of the submissions. Like I actually enjoyed when he would talk about submissions that and going into the MMA background of his.
Yeah, no, that's right.
I'm certainly not saying that Jimmy Smith is like the be all end all, but like of the commentators that they had, he's certainly not the worst.
Yeah, I don't know what their thought process was.
So I mean, like, I'm sure Kevin Patrick does great on Main Event, which I never ever watch, and not a lot of people watch Main Event as it is. He's the commentator on Main Event right now, but it's one thing to go from doing like 2 or 3 matches on a Main Event, and then segueing into a video package
to getting a big show like Raw.
It's another thing to do 3 hours of Raw with Corey Graves, the comedian.
The stamina, man. Like it's gonna be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I see some people saying Mike Adamle was worse than Adnan Virk. I do not agree with that. Actually, believe it or not, I don't agree with that. Mike Adamle at least tried to be interested in the product, or at least sound interested in the product. He did try to learn, but as we now know, Mike Adamle was slowed down by early onset dementia brought on by I think he was a football player in the NFL, or was it college football? I don't remember, but he had the effects of CTE already starting while he was with WWE, and that's why he would when he became the general manager of Raw, I think it was, he came out like with a clipboard, basically reading his script. Adnan Virk showed zero interest, and it lasted 6 weeks. That was horrible. They should
have pulled the trigger on that one, like tops 3 weeks, tops. Not that long.
Yeah, and I really thought like, and Raw had up until that they did a commentary shakeup that he was part of the shakeup, but before that it was I think it was Tom Phillips and Samoa Joe, Mr. Face Lover, and Byron, of course. And then they fired Joe. They got, I guess Tom was demoted, and they brought in Adnan Virk. Like, hello.
I personally think Tom was unjustly promoted and demoted. But I'm not going to go there. I do miss Morrow too, Daniel. That I really do.
Yeah.
But that's why
Anyway.
I blame
Anyway,
JBL for that one.
Ed Nunberg sucked.
Sorry.
But, Jimmy Smith was good. Let's see what happens on Monday. But I think I'm gonna be I think we're gonna be longing for the days.
You got earbuds, right? Like I saw you have like earplugs.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just put some earplugs in.
Yeah. I think we'll be longing for the days of Jimmy Smith before long. I truly do. But not for the days of Byron Saxton. So there's always.
Okay, let's get back to the show.
Let's get back to the show. We got to talk about Ronda Rousey beating Liv Morgan in an Extreme Rules match to win the SmackDown Women's Championship. This match was the dirt worst. It was horrible.
I'm gonna take the reins on this one.
Yeah, go ahead. Be my guest, because I have a lot to say about this one, and you might get a friggin' mic rant here.
Oh yes. Do you want a mic rant before me?
No, just go. I got a headache.
Yeah. No, I honestly at this point, like it really. I wanted to give Liv Morgan a chance during her reign, and I really, really wanted to have another woman into the mix where, like, she could be top tier and she could be involved in main event storylines and just have in the rotation, because before we had a very slim pickings here, and with the roster with the women, it's been difficult. So I wanted to give Liv Morgan a chance, follow New Jersey in, like, okay, like, let's see what she's got. She's given the opportunity. And there are certain people, I will say this, when you give them the opportunity, you give them the chance, like, let them fall flat in their face, even if it's going to take a little bit for them to get back up again. To me personally, she didn't connect. I think her reign was not very good. I think that when you're going up against somebody like Ronda Rousey in general, it's tough because, you're not going to have her lose, right? Like, you're not going to have her lose. You're going to have her, if she's going to lose, it's going to be in some weird way, DQ, like interference type thing. She's not going to lose clean like that. So that was difficult in itself for her to have her match like with that. And truth be told, Ronda Rousey hasn't been doing it for me either. And I love her. Like, I really do. And listen, there was nobody more excited for me than me when she came into this company. I was like, oh, Ronda Rousey, she's awesome. This is great. And I was like, she's going to be a great addition because she does have that fighting background. She could bring something into it that's a little bit different. And she's also got the mainstream appeal, which is good. More viewers and getting people engaged in watching women's wrestling. But she hasn't been doing it for me either. So, and I don't necessarily know if it's just like the Liv Morgan matchup. I feel like there's other matches that she's had and other things, and it might have to do with the fact that also it's just like her character herself, where she's still very much to me like that, like, okay, she plays a heel in a match, she plays like, baby face or whatever, but I think she needs to just kind of stick to one character and not talk and really just go back to like not having even like a long match. She's just got to go back to like beating the crap out of other women and be done with it. Like, she's almost got to have like these quick matches, like that freak show appeal where it's like, okay, Ronda Rousey's here. It's not going to be a very long match. It's not going to be a very extended match, but it's going to be a match. She's going to be in there. She's going to beat the crap out of you and then be done with it. I don't think this like extension thing really works, but I was rooting for it because I'm like, I want a women's match. And luckily we did get a phenomenal one later on this evening, but I'm like, we can't be having any women's match be anything but top tier at this point. Just can't. You can't have it.
Wow. They booked Liv Morgan like shit throughout her whole entire reign. Like I hate when they do that self-fulfilling prophecy of like, oh, well, number one, they waited way too long to even put the title on her in the first place. Like she had momentum back in like November of 2021, and they put the title on her in July with hot and cold start and stop, build to the point where it's like when she won it, like, yeah, she got the big pop, but it was like that stupid pop that wrestling fans do where it's just like, we're just excited to see a title change, and it was a Money in the Bank cash-in, so they were even more excited about that. I hate that because that never translates into long-term momentum.
It can't.
It doesn't. And then they immediately put her against Ronda Rousey, where it's so unbelievable that Liv Morgan could ever truly have a chance against this woman. It's so outrageous that it borders on insulting. If you think about what Liv Morgan did, I'm sorry, if you think about what Ronda Rousey did to someone like Alexa Bliss, you know, if you even think about a little bit of using the booking history here, you know, for tinier women, she destroys them. If you remember what she did to Alexa Bliss at SummerSlam in 2018, she killed her. She killed her. So what the hell is she doing? Messing around with Liv Morgan.
Exactly.
You know, even doing that finish at SummerSlam was insulting to try to stretch this thing out even more because it was so bad.
That's exactly what I said.
Horrible throughout this whole entire reign.
Mm-hmm.
She never had a single good promo. There was never a single great moment. There was no good matches. And not that Ronda Rousey's lighting the world on fire either, because she sucks at promos too, and she's looked horrible since coming back at the Royal Rumble. She has not looked good in a single match that I've seen her in.
Nope.
You know, like she did okay at WrestleMania, but that's against Charlotte Flair. You know, an opponent,
and they've worked together.
An opponent like Liv is a disaster waiting to happen, and tonight the disaster was in full force. Bumbling through every single spot. I don't think there was one thing they did that looked remotely good, clean, nothing. Like, it's like, and what's this thing with friggin' Liv smiling after losing the title? Like, what are they trying to turn her like Mick Foley or something like that? Go fuck yourself if you're going to try to do that. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It was horrible. It's almost so bad the way they booked this that it's unbelievable, because you look at like what they did with the Judgment Day and how they resurrected that from dead to completely viable and amazing. That they never figured out what to do, how to fix Liv Morgan. You know, they never ever got that,
because going. Here's my thing: when you could try to fix something all you want, and listen. Nobody was more critical than us of the Judgment Day in the beginning. Nobody.
Oh, hold on. Before we even start talking about
the Judgment Day. We're not talking. I'm going.
But I just want to say this about the match itself. Just the layout was atrocious. And like again, everything they did was horrible. But then involving like the baseball bat, and you have Ronda Rousey swinging a baseball bat and connecting with this woman, and her leg isn't broken on the first shot. It's like, come on.
I know.
Why the hell? Why on earth did they use a baseball bat? Number one, it's like, okay, you know, it's TV PG. You know, a baseball bat is a truly. I didn't like when Sting used to use it, but when he would use it, it was effective, right? Here, they're just wailing on each other with a baseball bat that's obviously fake plastic. And it's like, what's the message here? Oh, if you get hit with a baseball bat, it doesn't really actually hurt. You can totally survive that. I thought that was just a bad message to be sending to people. I never liked when Triple H used the sledgehammer, because it's like, if you hit somebody in the head with a sledgehammer, they die. Like, why are we using that as a spot? Like, why is that his signature weapon? That is the dumbest shit on the planet, the sledgehammer. And now the baseball bat and hitting each other in the ribs and they were just hitting each other in the butt. You know, I guess it worked. They all have a crack in their butt. You know, it's like it's stupid. It looked horrible. That's it. And then it didn't even play into the finish. It didn't even play into the finish. Just choked her out.
No.
And she laughed while her fake eyelash was like sitting on her cheek. You know, she's laughing as she's falling asleep.
So the only reason why, like I said, going back to the Judgment Day in terms of this, so it's in relation to this, not in relation to anything that happened this evening or whatever. The Judgment Day, the only reason why the Judgment Day worked and it was able to do the turnaround is because they themselves also, with the creative control, but they themselves put that effort in. They themselves,
they're talented enough to do it.
Exactly. And that's what I'm trying to say about Liv Morgan. I don't think she has it. You could. Mandy Rose went down to NXT. She's a powerhouse down there. She's crushing it. She's killing it. She found her groove again. She whatever. I think with Liv Morgan, you could put the most secure storyline on her and everything else. you have to execute it. You have to be the one to execute. You still have to put in work. You can't just have this magical wand.
Hold on. Yeah, I don't think it's an issue of Liv not putting in the work. Some people will just not be good at it. You're just some people just never be good.
But okay, but what I'm saying
I don't think that she's not trying.
No, but there's no magical wand though. There's no magical wand to say like, oh, this all of a sudden, like you could literally hand it to her on a silver platter, and she could try, but it's not connecting.
Yeah, well, they didn't hand it to her on a silver platter either. That's the other issue. It's like.
But even if you did, I think it would just whatever.
She has a million liabilities, and they made those liabilities shine, and they've been doing that for a year. That's what killed her momentum in the first place. Like I remember, I forget who it was, but like Becky Lynch, she shows up at her gym and attacks her and is like cutting this promo like, I don't like you, and I took you out now. Okay, me. Like, so uninteresting. Like what do you? Even that sit down with Ronda Rousey was a living nightmare. I want you in an Extreme Rules match.
Do you remember when Vince said?
It's like, how does that even make sense? Why would you want to be in an Extreme Rules match with Ronda Rousey? How does that make any sense?
Do you remember?
And guess what? The stupid face again prevails in WWE because she did, when Ronda Rousey said it's your funeral, it legitimately was. The stupid face asks for the match and gets beat in the match that they asked for. Just go send her to NXT and be done with it. That's it. There's no coming back for Liv Morgan.
But I don't even think Liv Morgan on NXT would be good. I'm just saying.
I think she could be better. It could be better than here.
Well, let's just put it this way. You remember how Vince McMahon said that Cesaro didn't have it factor? Well, he was certainly wrong about that one. This is a prime example of somebody who does not have the it factor. She does not even. I personally don't feel like. And I try to be positive. I tried. I said a few weeks.
She's had flashes of brilliance. Ago. I mean, like she's had flashes where she's looked good, but it's in the ring. It's never been on the microphone. She's not a complete wrestler. She's like Natalya. Like Natalya is like supposedly like this great wrestler. I've never seen it. I mean like she's the one that she can certainly control a match and keep everybody calm in multi-person matches. I guess that's what they use her for. But she's not a wrestler.
I'm not a Natalya fan.
She's not an entertainer.
I'm not a Natalya fan by any means, and we know this. But I don't think that's even I'm saying even for Liv Morgan, that's not even a fair comparison with Natalya. I think Natalya is exceedingly better than Liv Morgan, strictly in the ring.
I'm saying they have no personality.
No, but
it's like Liv Morgan has shown to be pretty decent in the ring sometimes, but there's like it's hit or miss. It's hit or miss on even that, but zero personality, zero. Like this, it's just bad. And look, now we went from Liv Morgan as the champion. The probably the worst book champion of the year, other than somebody holding the 24/7 championship.
Time into this.
What?
No, I'm just getting frustrated.
I know. No, she's absolutely the worst book champion of the year, though. I think. But now you have Ronda Rousey, who also is horrible, right? Like she has not been good at all. The promos suck. The matches are somehow even worse. This is not like Raw's women's division is actually in great shape, but the women's matches on SmackDown, woof. There is a lot of work to do there. There's a lot of work to do. This is not good.
I also personally I don't think Ronda Rousey should be booked consistently. I think she needs to be. She just needs to come in and just kick butt when she does, and then be done.
Yes, okay, I'll agree with Ed Hamilton that Thunder Rosa is probably the worst book champion of the year. But but in WWE, what is the only company that I'm using in that analogy? That in WWE, she's the worst book champion. She was the worst book champion of the year by far. You know, for like a real title, not the 24/7 title.
So stupid.
Okay.
It really is.
Karrion Kross beating Drew McIntyre in a strap match.
Okay.
This was another disappointing
Can
match.
I go first on this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was actually genuinely surprised because you know, we haven't really talked much about wrestling, really, like consistently, just because again, your computer and stuff like that. But I genuinely didn't ever heard of a strap match before. Like you told me like, okay, there's been other ones in the past.
Those are great.
Yeah.
I've seen many strap matches.
If this was though, like this is somebody's first experience with a strap match, right? Like I want to watch what you watched in the past.
This was
not
a good intro to a strap
no,
match.
this was not a good
If
introduction.
this is your first time ever seeing a strap match, that was a disappointment.
Right, exactly. This was not a good representation of what strap matches because I thought it was just weird. I'm like, this is weird. Like to me, it just did not seem like. I'm like, why are they doing this right now? I don't know. That's just my opinion. And then you told me you're like, oh, there's been trap matches in the past that actually been good, and I'm like,
oh yeah.
I'm like, oh okay. And then I'm like, you have to show me these matches then because this just wasn't it. That's really all I have to say about it either. It's just that it just wasn't it.
Yeah, no, Randy, I agree that Karrion Kross needed to win this, but it was almost like, you know, Drew McIntyre like lost so badly at Clash of the Castle that he shouldn't have lost either. But he didn't really lose. So they had so like the pepper spray, the interference, that I was fine with that. I just thought the match itself sucked. It was so bad, but that is every Karrion Kross match. Like actually before the match started, they did the brawl. I really liked how Karrion Kross wouldn't put the strap on at first. There has to be a different way of saying that sentence, but I can't think of another way to say it right now. He didn't want to wear the strap. Okay. And he tossed it aside. They have, you know, Scarlett, you know, tug on the strap. And
this is wrestling, by the way, everybody.
Wrestling we're talking about, by the way. And then they attack and they brawl into the crowd, and the place was really into it. And this is before it starts because, you know, he has to wear the strap in order to start the match. God damn it. Like, this is tough. And once that bell rang, I mean, that is the issue with every single Karrion Kross match that I've ever seen. You know, like there's a great presentation. Usually it's a great entrance. You know, even like the promos are kind of interesting and kind of mysterious. You're like, what is this guy? And I'm kind of excited to see, like, you know, what happens. But then, you know, once all the pageantry is over, you know, and in this case, like, you know, the entrance and the brawling and all that stuff, once that bell rings, it's bad. And this was bad. I would say 95% of the match was Karrion Kross getting heat, and then they did the finish.
Yeah.
It was boring. It was like I expected a lot more from this.
I don't know. I just thought it was weird.
And it was boring as all hell. Really. Disappointment. Very, very big disappointment.
I don't think the placement too of these matches. I mean, well, we'll not look at it. Like, well,
I mean, look, just, you know, like I actually,
it was like shit.
I'm going to tell you something that you're gonna laugh at me.
Oh dear Lord!
You're gonna laugh at me.
Don't tell me you were in a strap match at one point.
No, but you know, for like a little time on the website, you know, like you can kind of tell what the main event's gonna be. For a little time, they kept like showcasing like the main featured match was Ronda Rousey and Liv Morgan in the Extreme Rules match. I thought they were actually positioning that to be the main event of the show, and thank God they had some. You know, thank God they thought better of that, because that would have been horrible. I would have wanted my money back. Once they got Daniel Cormier involved, then all of a sudden the fight pit started being the one that was like the big match advertised. But I thought it was either going to be that or this match. That would be the main event. I thought the strap match could have been the main event of the evening.
God.
And
maybe we lucked out then with this lineup.
Luckily, it wasn't. and you know, I know I've seen a lot of people say something about the match placements and stuff like that. But you know what? In hindsight, this is probably
this was better.
This was probably the best match placement they could have had.
Dear.
You know, I like opening a show with a hot match. That's why the Donnie Brook worked there. I mean, but it was so good that it was hard for the other matches to follow it. But you know, I wouldn't put the I Quit match in the opening match. I wouldn't put maybe you could have done Bayley versus Bianca Belair as the opening match. Maybe you could have done that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Wow.
You could have done that. But
well, knowing what I know now, then thank God it was not here.
No, that was a huge disappointment. Really, really big disappointment. You have anything else on the Karrion Kross?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna see a strap match again, I'd better not look like that.
Yeah. So I mean, look, Karrion Kross sat around for a long time after being released and didn't really sign anywhere. And MLW does not count. I'm sorry. It's not a real company. It's like if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, does MLW really even have a TV deal? No. Okay. No one cares about them. So there's a reason why. Cares. There's a reason why, because he's not that great. So when when Triple H is looking for free agents that are still floating around, and it's like Karrion Kross, like the last guy, it's like, well, there's a reason why the guy hasn't been signed. There's a reason why even Tony Khan, the mark of all marks, didn't open his checkbook and get this guy in there.
Yes.
Karrion Kross is over. No one cares. That's why.
See, nobody cares.
See? Nobody cares. Dennis Nedry. Okay. Bianca Belair versus Bayley. Bianca Belair beats Bayley in a ladder match. I'm not going to say it was a great match, but it was a very good match. A very good match.
I loved it. And the only reason why I'm not a fan of ladder matches at all, like I'm really not, because I always hate the whole like, oh, I can't get up the ladder, like, I don't like the lack of like, there's no realistic moments for me. However, I will say there were certain parts that I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like if somebody was trying to climb up the ladder and you're kicking at it and putting somebody underneath and whatever, but they both took some serious bumps. So even if you hate ladder matches, even if you're a type that's like, this is not realistic, like they should just walk up that ladder and whatever. Because I personally think a ladder match should just be like, if there's nothing like in the air, it's just like you just beat the other person to smithereens when you're using the ladder, and like almost like an I quit type thing, like, oh, I'm hurt, like I submit, I whatever. That's how I think it should be. And if on the other side of the token, otherwise, it just be like a short little like ding ding. Oh, I go up this ladder
ding.
And whatever. But they took some serious bumps tonight. So if you didn't have respect for these two women and what they did, then you have some serious issues, because these women both put themselves into that match and took themselves like high risk after high risk after high risk, and not in a way either where it was like
out of control danger.
Exactly. The
only one that was that KOD. That was that.
That was brutal.
That was brutal. But I had to give a lot of respect to them for really putting together a really strong, hard-hitting ladder match. Like there was no dainty little stupid spots. Like these are all tough spots. One of the ones that like just really blew me away was the elbow drop onto the ladder, on the ladder bridge. I mean, it looked like she crushed Bianca Belair, absolutely crushed her.
She's crushed herself.
The KOD onto the ladder, where it looked like Bayley broke her jaw, and she was definitely bleeding from the mouth after. I actually thought that she broke her jaw initially when they hit that move. I know you don't like the slow.
I don't.
The slow climb.
I don't like the slow climb.
The thing I don't like about ladder matches is the time it takes to set up each spot. It's like
that's another part I don't like either.
Like some like you go back and look at the match from 1994 with Shawn and Scott Hall. That match, yes, it's dated now for sure, because they do so many spectacular things in ladder matches.
Yeah.
But like the one thing that I loved about that match, and the reason why it still to me stands the test of time, is that they were having a match and there happened to be a ladder there. It didn't take 15,000 years.
I see what you're saying.
It didn't take 15,000 years to set up a spot, but like the ladder was used smartly throughout. But like now it's just about like, okay, now we got to do the masturbatory ladder bridge spot. I got to set this up. Now I got to position the ladder so that we can have it here for later. And now we're going to do the sandwich spot. And I'm going to put the ladder up and I'm going to have it right here in my midsection. Oh no, here comes the baseball slide. It's like, come on, like everything is just some, it's like watch, like I don't like wrestling when it starts to look like dancing,
Yeah,
where
like
it's
a
just like, okay,
choreographed.
here's
Yeah.
something very
Mm-hmm.
choreographed coming your way now. And yes, like when they finally do it, it's spectacular. And it is painful, and there's a lot of risk involved in that. But like, just sometimes it just becomes so spotty, and that was the one drawback for me tonight, was that and Bayley is very, very iffy in weapon matches, like, because when she was trying to wedge that end of a broken ladder into the ropes, and there was no chance of her ever successfully doing that because one part was just so big, there's no way that the ropes would bend like that. There's no way. I was getting flashbacks to the Hell in a Cell, from a year ago, where she was trying to tape two kendo sticks together, or was it 2 years ago? I can't remember. I think it was her. It might have been her and Sasha Banks.
I think it was 2 now.
But
I think.
she was trying to like duct tape two kendo sticks together and then like make a kendo stick bridge, and it was just like in this Hell in a Cell match. I was like, "What are you doing? That's never gonna work." It's like, did you even try this before to see if it would work?
Right, yeah.
So I was thinking that in the Hell in a Cell match, and I was sitting here again. I was like, did you even try to make the ladder wedged in the corner to see if it would even work ever? So, but luckily, I mean, somehow she managed to, like, jerry rig it into working out, and it was fine. It didn't didn't hurt the match, but it's just that pause, like I hate when people turn around and then they're waiting for the person to set up so they can hit them with the moonsault. It's like, sometimes they do too many spots.
No, I agree with you on that. I do.
And all of a sudden, it like the whole build for this match was about, Bianca Belair, is she vain and can't accept any type of failure and stuff like that. And Bayley is the one in control. And it's like the story got lost in them trying to set up so many different spots, and that's the real tragedy of a match. Now, it was still a good match. I'm not saying it's not a good match.
I know.
But these are the things that like take it from, this level down to here.
I hear you.
And that's not because it's two women. This is just systemic of all ladder matches. Of all 21st century ladder matches.
Listen, I'm not accusing you of discriminating against the women by any means. So
there was a great ladder match with like the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros, from like a couple years ago that I saw, that I'm still convinced was one of the greatest ladder matches I've ever seen in my life. But other than like that, I can't think of a single great ladder match.
See, here's my thing.
And the other thing too, just real quick, is that like, they do so many spots and there's so many dangerous things that happen, but it all just kind of goes into like this like vortex in your head where like, one blends into the next, and they're taking all these risks, and I don't remember anything after. It's kind of that's kind of the tragedy of today's wrestling, is that they do so many freaking spots that I don't remember anything, and these people are like really like shortening their careers and causing long-term damage that we don't even really know about, or they don't even, and they won't even realize for another 10 or 15 years, and it's and all for spots that you don't even remember the next day. So my point is like, why don't you try to have a match that just happens to have a ladder in there? Like when are we going to try that again?
That's what I want. That's the real reason at the end of the day why I preface saying that.
I'll give you that, Ed. First Money in the Bank at WrestleMania in WrestleMania Goes Hollywood, WrestleMania 21 was a very good ladder match. That was a very, very good ladder match. I'm sure there are others, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. Maybe the TLC match that from TLC 2011 with the Shield's first match in WWE. That was a really great ladder match. I think it was the Shield versus Team Hell No and somebody else. I can't remember who else was in that match. Maybe it wasn't that great if I can't remember, but yeah, we were there for that. Remember?
Yeah, we were. That's what I said. I preface saying before I even talked about this match tonight that I'm not into ladder matches because I don't get that authentic feel. I 100% agree with you. I think if you're having a ladder match, it should be just because the ladder's there. It's not because I just don't like the idea of like something hanging and somebody has to get to it and you want, because really at the end of the day, like even Corey Graves made the comment of, which was true. It's like the ladder's right there. The person's outside of the ring. The ladder's right there. You're not in like such feeble condition where you can't set it up real quick and then run up and get the belt or um briefcase or whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever it may
Right.
be. Especially when you have two people.
That was a great one too. Sorry, I just want to say, but believe it or not, that match was 20 years ago. That was 2002. That was June 2002. I still remember that match. It was phenomenal.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like there should be something freaking hanging up for something like that. Unless you have, again, multiple people. So it's a little bit more realistic, excuse me, if you are like somebody else, again, it's outside the ring, but when you have two people, one's outside of the ring, why are you still going to try to beat them up? Like they're clearly on the ground, they're out cold, and then all of a sudden, like you're going up the ring and whatever. I think
that will depend on having good commentators then, because then they will say like, they could go in the ring and get the title now, but they are, they hate this person so much that they can't help themselves but try to hurt them more.
But see, Corey didn't do that.
I know they didn't. That's because they don't have good commentators.
Corey literally said, he goes, "Why is she not just going in and getting the title?" Like, do you know what I mean? So like,
right.
there's no real other than. But the only thing I disagree with you on with this match in particular, I personally, and maybe it's just because I like the individuals in the ring, but I personally remember what they did tonight. Like I remember the spot after spot and what they did.
Yeah,
like,
I remember it now. Yeah.
Like I remember like pretty vividly like what they're doing.
I will remember that KOD. I know I'm going to remember that.
But I'm not but I do agree with you. And there's certain shows like certain pay-per-views and obviously certain even unfortunately episodic shows with Raw and SmackDown, they have these crazy spots and they're literally almost killing themselves. And for what? But I don't remember that because it's like it's all just whatever. I think this had a little bit more of a unique feel to it where I
have been for years advocating against doing the crazy spots on every single show because they'll do it right 100 times. They might even do it right 1,000 times, but it's the one time they do it wrong on a throwaway spot that Big E sitting at home with a broken neck right now.
Exactly.
On a throwaway belly to belly.
Exactly.
It wasn't even it was just barely caught on camera because that's how little the spot meant.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I agree with you. I just find, and
another question is like, like now I'm like really, ragging on this, but I really liked it. I want to make sure everybody knows I really liked this match. It was good. It was a very good match. It wasn't great, but it was very good. Why did it have to be a ladder match? Like how did that play into the story?
I agree with you. And that's where
it's almost like, you could have just made like Ronda Rousey versus Liv Morgan a ladder match or something like that.
Yes. Because
that would have made more sense for like somebody like Liv, where like you don't have to brawl with Ronda Rousey. You just need to just keep her down long enough to climb and get the title. Bianca Belair and Bayley was built like it should have been.
Yeah.
They were built like they should have had the Extreme Rules match.
Yeah.
It's almost like they should have flipped the gimmicks on those.
They should have. No, you're right about that. 100%.
Well,
I love my son Bianca, and she thought she was great.
Well, actually, I was really impressed. They showed this video of Bianca Belair tonight on the show, and like they do this sometimes, and I think that's probably where they insert the Peacock commercial. So if you don't have the premium Peacock, you might have seen a commercial during this part, but like they showed this great video of like Bianca Belair talking about overcoming bulimia.
Yes.
And how kind of like finding like a second life in WWE really kind of saved her life. I thought that was really fascinating and something that I hadn't heard from her before. And something I think they should lean into a little bit.
I agree with you. I love her story.
It was an incredible story. I didn't know that about her.
I didn't know about that either. And I think that there's just, what I love about Bianca? She just got so many different layers into her life and just how you could tell she really cares about this business and she really cares about
oh yeah
being a good role model and just
And she gets it too.
And she has fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she's having fun.
She gets the business.
Yeah, she does.
She really does.
She
She
does.
gets what it means to be, an entertainer and what a professional wrestler does. She's got all that down. Now she sees the opponents, and Bayley was a great opponent for her.
She was.
Really. This is, by the way, this is the first like good match that Bayley's had since returning.
And honestly, too,
like I wasn't sure that Bayley could go like that anymore, and here she was.
She was. Honestly, if it weren't those two in the ring, probably wouldn't have been as good. But because it was them with the ladders, they were able to pull it off. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, continuing on with this show, we had. What's that?
Finn Balor and Edge.
I Quit match.
Yep.
I don't know why I clicked off the freaking thing.
No, it's okay.
We had Finn Balor versus Edge in an I Quit match. I do have to say, I called this one. I called it as soon as Edge did the I Quit match because I was like, no one wins in an I Quit match. It's like there's only one. There's only been one truly great I Quit match. That was Terry Funk and Ric Flair from 1989.
Was it Miz and John Cena?
It was not Miz and John Cena. I'm sorry. But they went out there and they had a half-hour long match, and it was great. It was a really great match. I knew that Beth Phoenix was going to somehow get involved in this.
You did call it.
I knew that that Rhea Ripley was going to do something to threaten her, and Edge would quit to save his wife. But even though like I just knew what they were going to do going into it, it was still friggin' awesome. Like the way they did it. Edge is such a great performer. And that's why it was so mind-bogglingly stupid when they tried to make him a heel and turn him into like, dime store Undertaker, with the throne and this Judgment Day BS. Made no sense. It was like when they turned Daniel Bryan heel and put him in the Wyatt family for that 2 weeks. It's like, why would you ever do that? That makes no sense. Like why would you take Edge, the best parts of Edge and rob him of it, like his charisma, the pop. He's a truly major star. You need major stars on Raw.
Yeah. You know what? I really I agree with everyone because in the chat everybody's agreeing with you too. Even though it was predictable where you knew Beth Phoenix would somehow come into, but there's certain times it's okay because the payoff is great.
Okay. Like I'm glad you said that because I was just about to say that predictable doesn't equal bad.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't equal
it's
bad.
Like everyone thinks it's like this taboo, just can't.
Look, everybody loves a swerve, but not everything should be a swerve.
No.
If there's a logical place for the story to go, and you know it's going to happen, it's like, well, do you stop? Like if you're reading a book and you're watching a movie and you're like, oh, I can kind of I see where this ending is going. Does that mean you get up from the movie theater and walk out? No, you just keep watching it. It doesn't take away from it. It's not like, oh, they didn't trick me. I knew what it was gonna be, and I'm never watching this show again. I demand surprises.
No, wait a minute. The Titanic didn't sink. It sank.
Wow.
You knew the Titanic was sinking. And you still watched it.
I read that the Titanic sank. I really thought in the movie they were going to swerve us and it would get to New York, and then Jack and Rose would just have a million babies for their whole life. No,
exactly.
That's how it works. You know, it's okay.
You knew the ship was sinking, and you knew that was going to happen. Okay. I agree. It really, really. It comes down to the end of the day, how you execute it.
It's
how
like
it comes
that Vince
forth.
Russo mentality that everything's be a swerve, bro. No, it doesn't. It does not. And this was awesome. Really, the brawling. I love the brawling in the crowd. I love the brawling near the kickoff stand and the flapjack into the concrete overhang. In the entranceway, and like the people were. It was just great. There was a lot of fun stuff there. And then when the Judgment Day ran down, then Rey Mysterio runs down. Dominic viciously takes out his father. Edge kicks Dominic in the groin. Beth Phoenix sits in the ring. It's like there was so much going on there. And then Beth Phoenix is taken out. And now Rhea Ripley is going to tease giving her concerto, and they're holding Edge up after getting 3 coup de grace. And he the way he said "I quit" was just masterful. you know, like they did a similar ending when Mick Foley, who's like, you know, like he was like obsessed with Melina or something like that back in the day, and Ric Flair was gonna like, I think he was gonna hit her with barbed wire or something like that, so he quit to save her, and it made no sense, like, you know, because like Melina's not his wife. I don't know. It's like sometimes like Mick Foley, where he's like, oh, I'm the greatest hugger in professional wrestling. It's like, okay, dude, stop touching people. Okay, like can we just agree to that? But like this made sense. You know, it was way better than that match. It was way better than that match.
Sorry, I'm just laughing.
And then the best part was, you know, they've done such a great job with Judgment Day, and everybody was dying for Dominic to get what was coming for him tonight. You know, yes, he got kicked in the groin. That was awesome, but he didn't really get everything that's coming to him yet. They were dying to see that. You know, I loved when Damian Priest ran in. He goes, and Michael goes, I was waiting when this idiot's going to get involved. It was like so great. Like Michael Cole was awesome in this one. And then you know, Beth Phoenix gets in the ring, and the crowd was wild for that. And then when Beth Phoenix turned around, Rhea Ripley's in the ring, and they were just, everybody was all in on that. They were all in on that. And then freaking Beth Phoenix is taken down.
Sorry.
You know, they're threatening the concerto, and Edge is like, just like so desperate. He wants to save his wife. You know, he desperately quits. You know, he's like, I quit. Fine. And then she hits her anyway. Oh, that was so good. That was so evil. It was so evil. And I love evil.
I love evil. Evil and wrestling go very well together. Very good pairing. Great. It's a very good pairing.
So great.
The story in itself was something that was just spectacular. He had good wrestling and he had a good story. What more can you ask for? What more?
What was that weird thing that Balor was wearing on his head tonight?
Oh, I don't know.
That was strange.
I don't know.
That was strange.
He's an interesting fella.
God, the Judgment Day is such a great act now. I never thought 3 months ago that I'd be saying that in October.
You would bet money with me, I'd be like, you're joking.
I never thought in a million years.
I would have thought that I would have had a bet.
If you asked me in July, like the day before Vince McMahon stepped down, if I would be saying in October that I love the Judgment Day, I could not say that.
I would have bet money. Like somebody said, like, oh, here's $1 million that you're gonna say that Judgment Day is good in October. I'd be like,
but they're freaking awesome.
No, and I would be dead.
Now they're awesome. Now they're awesome. And Edge was spectacular in this. I mean, like when they hit, when they hit Beth Phoenix and they all ran out of the ring, like they could have walked out of the ring because Edge wasn't even going to go for it. He was just concentrating on his wife. It was just a really great moment, and it felt so real. You know, like it was so good. And she really, you know, like that's the one good thing about like women with their big hair. When she hit her with the chair, obviously she went through great lengths to not hit her skull, but it hit some of her coif, you know, or whatever. And it looked like she actually flattened her skull because Beth's hair is kind of puffy.
She was puffy.
Like I was like, man, that just made it look even better. It looked like she absolutely smashed her skull through the ring.
Please write in the comments if you think Mike would have saved me in an I Quit match.
Yeah, you can write all you want. Go ahead. And while you're at it, make sure you like and subscribe to our like this video and subscribe to our channel as well. You know, while you're writing about my actions as a husband. Okay. Really, again, excellent match. A lot of fun. I can't wait to see what the hell they do with this next. You know, it's like I'm almost wondering if like I thought initially that War Games at Survivor Series is going to be like the Bloodline versus like a whole bunch of faces, but I could easily see the Judgment Day versus, you know, Rey Mysterio and Edge and Beth Phoenix, and add a couple other people like AJ Styles and maybe one more extra person, and doing like a mixed gender War Games match now. That's how good this is. That's how good they set that up. Set that up. Before we get to the main event of the evening, the Fight Pit, we do have to talk about your guy.
He had a birthday. 42 years old.
42 years old. No, I'm
Okay.
kidding.
Whoa. You're not allowed.
We're
Okay.
talking about the Miz, by the way. If you're first time listener, Victoria is a huge Miz
Huge
fit.
misfit.
Don't dislike the video because of that.
Whoa.
I loved him getting his ass kicked by Gritty tonight. That was so awesome.
No, it wasn't. No, I'm just kidding. No, you're not allowed to talk badly about the Miz on his birthday, even though it's past 12 o'clock. You're not allowed to talk about his birthday. Okay.
Well,
42
anyway.
years old.
Well, what did you
Wonderful
think about
career.
it?
What do you mean?
Like, what do you think about this whole thing with Dexter Loomis?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think we're finally maybe possibly gonna get some answers on Raw this Monday when they do
I
the,
sure
when
hope
they,
we
when they do
do.
the Miz birthday party with Maurice leading it.
I really do. I really hope this birthday party is just like the end of that because I'm all about giving things time, but not this much time. Like this is just it's enough is enough now. Like we
Yeah.
need to know. We need to have some answers. So
Real quick, Randy actually said something really interesting here. Not that he doesn't say anything interesting ever, but like this was an interesting comment here. I think that Edge is going to come out and practically re-retire and eventually get dragged back for revenge by Beth after she heals. You know, I think it's actually a possibility there. The story, you know, they kept telling the story that Edge, you know, his family doesn't want him to wrestle anymore because he's getting older and he's had so many injuries. And they, you know, but like now that Beth has been attacked, you know, it's like you know, it's going to be like a family affair. Like the kids, like maybe they'll do a segment where like Edge doesn't want to get back in the ring, but his kids are like, you got to get back in there and avenge mommy or something like that. And then mommy's like, oh, I don't need him to revenge me. I can revenge myself. There's gonna be something really,
there's
really
something,
good coming
yeah,
out of this.
it could go a bunch of different directions.
Yeah. I'm excited about that.
Andrew, enough. Okay. So what if he was on your TV tonight? It's his birthday. Okay. Let him be on the TV.
Yeah, everybody deserves to be on TV.
And I share a half birthday with Miz. So
Fight Pit main event.
wow. No acknowledgement. Acknowledge me. Acknowledge me.
What do you share a birthday with?
The Miz. I share a half birthday. Like he's like my half birthday is his birthday. His half birthday is my birthday.
Who cares? Who cares? It means nothing.
Means we're besties.
He's 10 years older than you. All right.
So
for 10 years, he didn't like his half birthday. You weren't even alive.
For 10 years, you're like, he doesn't even know you exist.
That's right.
Miz knows me, okay?
He retweeted you, yes. Okay.
3 times.
The Fight Pit here with Matt Riddle versus Seth freaking Rollins in the main event. I like Rollins coming out with the RVD inspired gear.
Yeah.
That was pretty cute.
That was cool.
Daniel Cormier in this match, the UFC Hall of Famer. You know, like there was a lot of stuff about like this could be the beginning of a great thing with Daniel Cormier and you know him versus Brock Lesnar at some point. And I'm like, when I was looking at Daniel Cormier in the ring tonight, he looked extraordinarily out of shape. He looked lost. He was like the stuff with him just didn't look great. He was like he wasn't doing his job. He wasn't counting when he was supposed to be counting. I mean, it's like it's a simple job, dude. When the guy's down, you start counting. Instead, I guess he was trying to make it look like a real fight, but man, you know, yes, you know, Ed, I have to say that's the perfect analogy. If you've ever seen a baseball game, you know, the guys that, you know, sit, you know, like there's 2 coaches that are on the field, you know, on first base side and third base side, and they're wearing a uniform just like everybody else, but they are really, really out of shape while wearing the uniform. And you could see the threads on the uniform are screaming, trying to hold everything together. That's what Daniel Cormier looked like tonight. It did. You know, it's like, look, I'm not in the greatest shape on earth here. You know, like I could certainly lose, you know, start to lose a couple pounds here. I'm not heavy or anything like that, but like I'd like to get like a little more, you know, close to like my truly healthy weight rather than like being a couple pounds over that. But he looked large and in charge tonight. He was pretty big. And there was almost no point other than to have like, you know, the press of having Daniel Cormier in the match to even have him there. He added nothing to it. There was nothing that Daniel Cormier did that was so special that they could have just had a regular referee in there, other than when he grabbed Riddle and then Rollins, which you knew was going to happen because they did the same thing with Jeff Jarrett at SummerSlam, because they always had to do those things when you have a guest referee. I'm the law. Don't you know?
Meanwhile, no
one cares.
No other referee.
See, no one cares.
No one cares. That's the big theme of the night. No one cares.
And it wasn't like it was like so out of control that Daniel Cormier kept anything in control. They were still doing buckle bombs on top of that platform. I like the look of the fight pit. I do. I think the fight pit has a unique, cool look. But it was unclear. They never really truly explained why they had that ginormous platform above the ring with cage walls on that as well. Because, Daniel Cormier would not count Riddle down while he was on that platform. So what is that for? Like that was never explained. They should have explained this is where the camera goes. The cameras are up there. That's only for production purposes. Like there was no explanation of why they had freaking a platform there. Did you hear it? Did you understand it?
No, I didn't understand it either.
I mean, it made for some really spectacular spots and made for some cool moments. Like the Broton off the platform onto Rollins. I mean, it looked like he crushed Rollins and he hit that perfectly. I have to give Matt Riddle a ton of credit for executing that to perfection. And I also have to give a lot of credit to Seth Rollins. I mean, like that dude is so strong. When he hit that buckle bomb on the platform, running, I was having I had like a mini heart attack when he did that, because it was like, if he slips or if he lost his balance, catastrophe, true blue catastrophe.
Yeah, it takes one misstep. Happened. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It really does.
But still unclear why there had to be a platform there.
I feel like I'm having a fight pit in my stomach right now. So if I'm not speaking too much, I do apologize.
That's the new baby. Victoria's pregnant as well, so in case you know. I just I think they explained it in NXT, but if you don't watch NXT, it's and they haven't done a fight pit in a long time. So
when's the last fight pit that they did?
I think the last fight pit they did was maybe it had to be 2020. I think it was like Matt Riddle and what was it?
It involved Matt Riddle again.
Was it Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher? It was like right before Matt Riddle got called up, but I think Kurt Angle was the guest was the guest referee.
Okay.
I cannot remember.
I was gonna say I don't really.
But I mean, let's talk about what Riddle and Rollins did. They had a really, really great match, and I think the buzz over like where Bray Wyatt's going to show up led to this finish being very flat. I could not believe how flat that finish was. Riddle has him in a triangle. They do the Broton off the ladder, and Riddle has him in the triangle, and it's like, well, does anybody realize that this is like close to the finish? Because like the entire crowd sounded like they were asleep when that happened, because they and seconds before they were cheering about the Broton. Then he hits the freaking, he applies a triangle, and that was the finish. And like, it just seems like nobody realized that. It was kind of strange. And the only thing I can think of is that, like they fought the match a little differently. They tried to initially simulate it like, like this was an actual, fight. Like kind of like at the beginning, they were definitely going for like, no, this is not a professional wrestling match. This is more closely to like a worked MMA match. And then it turned into a professional wrestling match. So I think like, it was like a different pace, like we've talked about the WWE match formula that, like everybody has, doesn't matter how great of a wrestler you are, you can be the best wrestler in the world. Once you go to WWE, you got to go to the Performance Center. Doesn't matter if you've been wrestling for 15 years and you've been highly successful and everywhere you've gone, you got to go to the Performance Center and learn how to work the WWE style. Well, tonight they kind of broke out of the WWE style. And so the crowd was just not prepared for that. They've been watching the WWE style for what, like 40, 50 years. It's going to take some, like, I'm not advocating to keep WWE's pace. But it's going to take some time, I guess, to kind of acclimate people to the fact that like not every match is going to be paced the same way. So that might have also led to the flat finish. I think the real reason of the flat finish was just that everybody was just like waiting for Bray Wyatt. Where is he? There can't be a finish in this match until Bray Wyatt shows up and interrupts it. But they didn't do that, which was actually smart on their part. Don't end the match with Bray Wyatt coming out, because that could piss some people off. It's not a great way to debut. I thought it was really, really brilliant that, they have Daniel Cormier holding up Matt Riddle's arm to end the show. And then the lights in the, like, they're even showing the ending Chirons, in the corner. I was like, wow, like they're not going to debut Bray Wyatt, but like this is this is a Triple H. That was a Triple H trick from NXT. Like they did that a lot, on the takeover shows where, okay, we're going to tease that this is the end of the show now. And they bring up all the ending graphics, and then all of a sudden like Ciampa turns on Gargano or something like that. Same thing. It's like, oh, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, I guess they're not bringing the White Rabbit in here either. And then they did, and then it wound up being Bray Wyatt. But I think there's a couple things that went into the match having a flat finish, but I still think Bray Wyatt is the actual reason.
I agree with you on that one. I think the anticipation of it, because now at this point you knew, like, okay, it has to be here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it has to be. Like, you're like, there's literally no other. I mean, yeah, you could do it on Monday, but not likely.
Yeah, but it was a good main event. I would not say it was great. And Daniel Cormier it wasn't a good fit. Not, I'm not sure that every MMA guy is going to translate well into professional wrestling. I'm not, Daniel Cormier is a big fan, but being a big fan does not translate into, like, I'm a big fan of being extraordinarily rich, but it doesn't mean I'm extraordinarily rich. It's like some things just, you can be a fan of it. It just doesn't happen. So, I just, it's flat finish and all that stuff. It just kept it good for me. But the Bray Wyatt debut was tremendous. And I know that that's going to make people say that this was an excellent show. And maybe they should, it's always like, however a show ends really, really does, like, when people are thinking back on a show with fondness, it's like, like what was the lasting image you have from a show?
Right. And that goes for any show. I mean, we've said this hundreds of times about how it's usually like the beginning or the end, like how you felt about the beginning of the show, how you felt like that initial feeling, and then like the first match or whatever, and then the end of the show, what you were left with.
Very, very few shows have had bad endings that have ever been remembered fondly. Like I think about WrestleMania 17, which in hindsight had probably the worst ending that ever happened in professional wrestling in the history. It was such a bad decision to turn Steve Austin heel and kill that hot streak that wrestling was in. That really was the end of it. But that show is remembered as one of the greatest professional wrestling shows of all time.
Right.
Because there was so much good on it.
Right.
So it's rare. This show really, the Donnie Brook match, the I Quit match, the ladder match, and maybe the fight pit match. Like, there were two great matches, two good matches, but then there was two matches that were like, one was just extremely disappointing. The other one was just horrible. And then Bray Wyatt's perfect debut. It's like, like in the midst of all that is Bray Wyatt emerging with another tremendous, second chance here. And this is really his third chance. The Fiend was really his second chance to make a first impression.
Yeah,
so now, like, he has a third chance to make a first impression again. I really am legitimately curious to see what they do with Bray Wyatt. I'm really interested to see how they do it. So we'll see.
I'm really looking forward to it because I do have a more optimistic feel into it this time. So I'm very excited.
Yes.
We like to hear from all of you. What did you think of the show? Mike and I are going to give our thoughts on overall of what we thought. I'm going to say this. I liked the start of it. I loved the first match so much, so hard hitting, so much action. And I did like Bray Wyatt. I loved like Bray Wyatt's return including the women's match. So for me, this is a thumbs up. What about you, Mike?
Okay. Yeah, we're looking for thumbs up and thumbs down in the chat right now. That's such a tough thing. Because like
This is a tough show.
this show it screams the thumbs in the middle option.
It does actually. Not an option though, but it is thumbs in the
It's
middle.
not an option. The Donnie Brook match was so freaking good, and the I Quit match was so freaking good. Just on those alone, it would be so hard to give the show a thumbs down when you have two matches like that on the show.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the Bray Wyatt thing. And someone's asking, Daniel Shell's asking if I pair Bray Wyatt with Braun Strowman. No, I don't do anything that's a callback to the past. I think they gotta move forward with Bray Wyatt. I don't think they should be going backwards. The Bray Wyatt debut was perfect. It was executed to perfection, from the viral build of it to the actual execution. It was just perfect.
Let's just hope it stays that way.
So, well, yeah. I mean, look, you can have a perfect debut and it falls apart. And we saw that happen with him last time. It's all about maintaining the momentum, letting the story, play out. Like this was a good first step. What are they? Now the big question is, what are they going to do next? What's Bray Wyatt going to do next? Like what's Bray Wyatt's vision, and how are they going to help him realize that vision? Because I think they're going to correct the mistakes and not, take creative control away from him, and instead let work together with him. Unlike what Vince was doing. It's all about that follow up. So I cannot wait to see the follow up.
Me too.
I cannot wait to see the follow up.
I'm looking forward to it.
So. And Randy's saying, I hope that this is the last rehire for a long while now, unless someone really huge hits the market. There's no one, like, I cannot think of anybody else on the market that's worth signing right now. It's like all that's left right now is like Sarah Logan, who people are excited about coming in with the Viking Raiders. I'm not, but like that's it. There are no big names that aren't over 50 that are floating around on the market.
Oh, can we just say real quick, too? Just because you said Sarah Logan and made me think of Sarah Lee.
Oh,
rest in peace, Sarah Lee, everybody.
Yeah, that was sad. That was very sad. Yeah, that sucked. That really sucked. It's morbid. I would like to know the cause of death, because I just want to know how a 30-year-old woman,
who's healthy
with a husband and children, dies.
Yeah.
But they have a GoFundMe, out for her. I think they were asking for 20,000, and it currently has about 100,000. So like that's like a small thing that the wrestling community can do to bring some comfort, to a family, of a fallen star. So, that was a terrible story. But anyway, I'm getting back to this show. Yeah, there's nobody on the free agent market left right now. So that's, what do you mean bordering reckless speculation here? I didn't speculate anything. Who speculated anything about when it's your time? It's your time. Who's speculating? I didn't speculate about Sarah Lee's death. I said I'd like to know what happened, because I'd like to know how a 30-year-old passes away, because I just think that's kind of important. There's no speculation going on here. Getting back to the show now, I have to give it a thumbs up, because a perfect debut, two really great matches. That Donnie Brook was friggin' awesome. That I Quit match was awesome. The finish was great. Yeah. And everybody, where's the thumbs up? Where's my thumbs up and thumbs down in the chat room? I want to know what
I saw some.
You did? Okay, let's see.
I did. Ed Hamilton said thumbs up. Andy Torcola said slightly thumbs up. Let's see what Andrew wrote over here.
Andrew said pay-per-view thumbs even with the two stinkers. This show thumbs up. Gritty getting his kicks in, thumbs up. Gritty is the strangest mascot I've ever seen. Yeah, Ed Hamilton gives a thumbs up. Let's see. Thumbs slightly up from Randy Torcola. And of course, Andrew is happy about Bray Wyatt being back.
Machine Balls, thumbs up.
Daniel Shell gives a thumbs up. The I Quit match has to be up there with match of the year. It could be. The storytelling was amazing. The Bray Wyatt creepy promo gave me peak Undertaker creep vibes. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good analogy there. Thumb slightly up, machine walls, 2 thumbs up. Yeah. Good stuff. I think we're excited. I'm really excited to see the follow-up. I'm excited to see where Bray Wyatt pops up next. Is it going to be on Raw or SmackDown? Is it going to be on both shows for a while? Like how is this going to work? So I'm excited to see that. But in the meantime, we're going to sign off for the evening because it's getting late here on the East Coast. We've been talking about the show for a while, longer than we thought we were going to do it again. We did it again.
We did it again.
But we'll be back on Monday. This new computer is so nice. I love this computer now. My wonderful wife got it for me.
You're welcome.
Yes. And we'll be back on Monday.
You needed it.
Yeah, I did. Well, I didn't have a computer. I didn't have a computer. It was dead.
No, you
totally
really needed it. The other one was not. The other one was possessed.
Yeah, that computer never worked right. Just real quick, anybody in the chat room, could anybody, like, from the time I got that damn computer, out of nowhere, the screen would go dark, and then it would come on bright as ever. It would just like turn off for like 5 seconds and then come on with the brightness all the way up. You know, like the screen had this thing where it would like sense the light in the room, and then like, so we're like dim, so it doesn't hurt your eyes. Like that was completely turned off when it would come back on. It was the weirdest thing. And then it would just overheat, go, the CPU would all of a sudden go up to 100% usage and then go down, and it would just be like on fire.
Ask Nafis. He said
I know. I actually am going to ask Nafis. Yeah. I'm just genuinely curious. I'm genuinely curious. It was such a strange computer. And Lenovo Legions are good computers. I don't know. I must have just had a faulty
No, I think
one.
you had a faulty one because your computer from the day you got it was just like not like it overheated. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like the computer should be doing that.
Strange. It just never worked right. It just never worked right. But anyway, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight and listening to us chat about this show. It was a show. Bray Wyatt's back. That's the big news. And I'm excited to see what they do in the coming weeks with him. So there's still a lot to look forward to with professional wrestling. Until then, have a good one, everybody. I'm Mike Tedesco.
I'm Victoria Tedesco.
Good night. Be well. See you on Monday.